What's up, beautiful people? Nathan Clark coming to you from Domination Nation Gym. We're already a week into the new year, which is crazy to believe. I'm going to take you through a leg workout today. Check this out. I got 3 new leg press machines. I may use a few of them. So stay tuned as well. I'm going to tell you what I feel is one of the most overrated leg machines that's held in high regard by a lot of people that I actually recently sold in exchange for a couple of these other machines. So we're going to start out with some posterior chain. So this is the Body Masters standing leg curl. I prefer this version over the other one. I superset with my hips extended to my hips flexed, as you can see here. That's the cool thing with this. It's a different stimulation, definitely, when your hips are extended than when your hips are flexed. That's why it's cool to have this and the Star Trek slash Flex version, which gives you the option of doing both versions. So you can see my hips are extended here. You get more full stimulation, a little bit of glute stimulation. It's harder standing upright. And then once I do 10 to 12 reps, I kind of lean forward on the pads that come with the machine. But it's a great machine. And again, I'm trying to warm up my legs and just sort of pre-exhaust, so to speak, the hamstrings. It continues to be a little bit of a weaker point compared to my glutes and some other body parts. So now I'm going to do some specific line leg curls. So this is the streamline plate loaded leg curl. All that I'm focused on is the bottom half of the movement, holding a stretch and holding a contraction to about 30 degrees up. Whenever you do a leg curl, you can feel that point in the leg curl where you really have all hamstrings. Works much better when your hips are extended. So I'm on a pad here when I'm doing it, and I'm really focused not on the weight, but more just that position right there, about 30 degrees up, where I hold it about 5 to 6 seconds, and then I do a concentric after that. So it's really focusing on that stretch of the hamstrings the entire time. This is a phenomenal machine to be able to do this because the strength curve is just fantastic on this. You can see it's just that bottom part of the movement where I'm not fully locking out, and I'm just trying to hold that stretch, and I'm doing a couple more reps here just to finish after I've exhausted. Then I'm going to do some line exercise ball curls. I love this movement. I haven't done this movement in a while. You kind of follow along your feet. It's really a phenomenal way to use your body weight to do a hamstring curl. You know, Sorenex makes a roller that you can do this with. And then, so those movements are kind of pre-exhaust into more of a hip extension movement. I like to pre-exhaust an isolated hamstring movement to a hip extension movement. This is the Atlantis reverse hyperextension. Still one of my favorites because of the 2 different loading horns. You can change the strength curve, as well as you can do it. See how I'm doing it under control. It's not like a West Side where I'm just yanking it back and forth using momentum. I'm trying to control it and really isolate and contract and really force my posterior chain to do all the work with no momentum. That's why I love this machine. The half moon pad is absolutely essential to make it effective. I'm going to do some core quad movements. So I'm doing this Polaris 60 or 70 degree hack squat, facing out to facing into reverse hack squat. So I love this particular movement because it's more of a sissy squat movement. I'm focusing just on the bottom 2/3, not locking out at the top, no rest. The bottom 2/3 of the movement is where the magic happens. You don't need to come way past parallel because then you're just stressing the knee and there's no tension on the muscle. But this is just, you don't need a lot of weight. This is just a phenomenal time under tension type movement. I get about 15 to 18 reps here. This movement's harder than when I do when I face in. So there's something special about this angle of hack squat. I'm not a huge fan of the hack squats that are 45 degrees. I love the 30 degree ones and the 60, 70 degree ones. The ones in between, too much back strain. So then you can see I'm going to face in. This is a little bit easier movement, focusing just on the bottom 2/3. There's just something special about this particular angle. One of the machines I don't have, I'm actually going to find a wall squat machine. There's a couple companies that make it. That's would be the next step up from this. One of the few leg machines I don't have that I'm looking to acquire at some point. It gives you a similar type of movement and ability. But this is just a phenomenal movement that's underutilized. just a little bit different angle. This really hits your core hard too. It hits your abs really well. That's the beauty with front squat type movements. There's just a tremendous quad overload. So if you guys have seen some of my videos, you probably remember the machine that was here, you may or may not. Next to the Seated Squat Pro, I had the old school pendulum hip press. So I had this machine for years. It's a decent machine, but the more I used it, the more I disliked it. And I'm going to show you these two machines I got instead of the pendulum hip press. The cool thing is, in the same space the pendulum hip press was, I could actually fit both of these machines. I'm going to show you two of the three new leg presses I have. The first one is this gymleco leg press. Newer company based out of Sweden. One of the hacks I did, you can see, is I put the weight horns inside. Gives me extra place to grab, which I really like. The cool thing with this machine is not only the strength curve and the different loading horns, but the small footprint of it. It's a very small, very, very narrow machine. And it's similar to the hip press in that you're going down to up, but it's really more quad stimulation. The thing I didn't like with hip press, it was just adductor and glute. It was almost impossible, very, very hard for me to comfortably get quad stimulation. And it was just kind of an okay machine, nothing horribly special. So far, I really like this better. So I'm playing around. I'm using, you can see, a heel wedge, really, really low. I'm supersetting the heel wedge low to hit overload quad, to taking the heel wedge out and putting my feet right in the middle of the foot plate, which really is still quad, not as much quad, but some adductor and glute. I like the feel of this better. The range of motion is better. The back pad is not adjustable. The back seat is not adjustable like the hip press is. However, I like the movement pattern and the arc of motion of this better. You can see I'm able to get very, very comfortable with no lower back strain, full knee flexion to full knee extension. And that for me is huge. Like squats or whatever, I'm able to really hit glutes and adductors. I want a leg press to really hit my quads more than anything. And this really hits my quads very well. So I'm excited to use this one. So this is the second, two of the three new leg presses I have. This is the Pulse Fitness lever leg press. This is very much like the AFS, a much smaller footprint. I think it's just as good, if not better, than the AFS. The difference with the AFS and this one is the foot plate is slightly angled. So it's kind of like you're doing the AFS just with the heel wedge on. You don't need as much ankle range of motion on this one as you do on the AFS. You can see how it's kind of angled where the heels kind of starts up. So it naturally, with that heel up, biases the quads even more. So this is just a phenomenal feel. You do need more weight on this than the Gymleco. So it's potentially a plate eater. I'm not going to do it necessarily, didn't do it as a primary movement here, but it feels absolutely phenomenal. Again, I'm judging this based on the ability to comfortably, without any lower back strain, within the constraints of the seat, get full knee flexion to full knee extension. So very much a quad overload. This is just a cool machine. I'm using a band here to hold my position, but you can see what I'm talking about here. Look at the foot plate. If you look at people that use the AFS, the AFS is perfectly straight. You need more ankle range of motion to make the AFS work. You don't need that same range of motion. It's like doing the AFS, but with a heel wedge underneath it. So it really, truly biases the quads. So then I'm just going to finish with a triple drop set here on the Strive leg extension plate loaded. Just a cool way for me to overload it without doing too much here. But I just love this plate loaded piece. The range of motion is phenomenal. So I've been doing a 3 days on, 1 day off training split for a while. I really have built my training capacity and recovery ability up to that point. I mean, for me, the more frequently I can train, the better, because of not just obviously the body benefits, the psychological benefits are just as important. So I love hitting the legs at least twice a week. Then I'm going to fast forward through my one all-out set of calves on this hoist rocket standing leg extension. I do as many as I can, and then I hold it for about 60 seconds, and then I do about 100 partials, and then I hold a stretch for about 60 seconds. It's absolutely brutal, but it's all you really need for calves. Oh, my. Thanks for staying tuned. Let me know what you guys think. I'm working on several projects of best machines from my perspective and my view, going through all the different body parts and all the different variations of machines. That's a project I'm hoping to complete throughout the year. So you're going to want to stay tuned and subscribe below. Have an awesome day.